Hello guys, what is up? This is the Samurai Genius, and today I have the remake of the Python tutorial series video 1, because the first one was too cringy, and the end was like not understandable by even me. So, first we need to do a few things to set up our development environment, so see you in a bit to install everything we need to start coding. What is up, guys? Alright, so now we need to install and set up our environment to code in. So, we need two things. We need something to write the code in, need something to translate the code into machine code. This will be explained in more detail in the next section. So, right now, we just have to install. So, first we need to install a compiler. So we choose Python download, or python.org/downloads. Search it up. Internet's a little laggy lately, so you know. Site can't be reached? No internet? What? Right, this is like taking some time. Okay, so the code we write goes through a process called the process of programming. And all of this can be also called as 4 C's of programming, as I like to call them. I haven't labeled them that way, but they could be visualized as that. Code, compiler, computer, console. Well, in this case, the console is a terminal, but we'll get to that later. First, we have the source code. The source code is what we write into Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code reads that and sends it to the compiler. And now, that takes us to step 2. The compiler takes the code and translates it to binary code, or ones and zeros, which is what computers understand. Then, in step 3, the computer takes the binary code and executes it. It's still in ones and zeros, though. Then, the Visual Studio Code takes the output and shows it in the terminal, or console. So, if you don't understand this, it's okay. It's a little complicated, but this is like super oversimplified. There are probably like a bunch of more steps in between these. These are like the 4 main steps that I think of when it comes to programming. Alright, so now that we understand how programming works, we can start coding. Oh yeah. Alright guys, so I have opened up Visual Studio Code on my laptop. And so now, first of all, you just want to go into your File Explorer and create a folder anywhere. And once you go into your File Explorer and create your folder, you should know how to do it. You'll click File, and then it'll say Open Folder. And then when you click that, you'll just navigate to the folder and open it. Once you're there, you will have, there's like a lot of things here. There's an Explorer tab, a Search tab, Source Control, Extensions, Run, which we don't use, Test, NX Console UI, we don't use a lot. One thing we do want to do is extensions. So first, we want to install the Python extension, or some type of extension that'll allow us to get autofill. Just enter this and alrighty then, enter. Alright. So, it's not working right now, internet problems, but it should work for you. You just download some Python extension that gives you IntelliSense. Then, if you also want to do it, you can actually get this. You can get different themes. I use the IU theme. Like, you can just go to color theme, and then I've installed IU Legacy, so it's there. And then, if you also want, you can actually get like this really cool icon extension. So if we create a new file and just say main.py, so for your information, py, if you're ever making a Python file, you have to have this at the end, or else it's going to think it's something else. So now we press enter, it gives this like cool graphic icon next to it. And I just like that. Well, anyways, that's cool. I really like it. And if you didn't know what I just did, I clicked this icon called New File. When you click it, it shows you this, and you can type in a name. I put main, and then you also have to add the .py extension to make sure that it's a Python file. Alright, so now we are ready to write our first few lines of code. So, what we do is we type in. So first I'm going to teach you a cool trick to use while debugging, which we'll go over later in the series. But this is just really cool, and it's called a print command. You've probably heard of it before. And what it does is it prints out any whatever value you give inside it into the console, or you might call it terminal. So we do print, and then we can do whatever we want. We can do numbers. We can do you can either do whole numbers, decimals, or text. Now, I'll go over this more a little later. First, we're just going to use something called a string, which is just text. You can also think of it as a string of characters. Inside here, I'm going to type in hello world, and voila. Now, this is, you have written your first line of code. And this will print out hello world into the terminal. So you just right click and press run Python file in terminal. Actually, you're supposed to go to terminal and create a new terminal. Then you run the Python file in terminal. Then it will load and do its stuff. Or if it's not working, you can just do Python main.py. And, oh wait, save this, then run the command hello world. Or, just press run Python file. Yeah, that's just not working anymore. It used to work. But, this is how you execute Python files. This, Visual Studio Code did have a shortcut to do that, but I mean, it doesn't work anymore. So we just have to type in Python, then the name of the file. Hello world. Alright, now let's have a talk about data types. So, you know how I said in this print command it can take different values? Well, those values are pretty much data. And all data, everything has like a data type, every value. What we just did is we printed a string, which is just text. We can also print out not variables, that's later. Numbers, specifically whole numbers called integers. 2409. And let's just save it and run it in the terminal. Python main.py 2409. Yeah, I highlighted the wrong thing. Haha. Alright, so now there's two types of numbers. We went over integers, but there's also something called floats, which are just decimals. So if I save changes and run it again, 2409.5. Then there's also one more data type, or like a regular data type, called a Boolean, which is just true or false, capital T. So if I save it and I run it, it just prints out true because, like, it's like a Boolean. So then it prints out true. But Booleans are true or false. It can either be statements or they could just be literally true or false. So now those are the four most basic types. You can also create your own types by creating classes and stuff, but that's like way beyond this episode. So the one last thing I'm going to teach you is called variables. Variables are super important in programming. They're like one of the core building blocks of programming. Variables are basically references to a piece of data. So anytime you reference the variable, we're referencing that piece of data. So I'm not sure if you can understand this, but it's a pretty simple topic if you understand it. It might seem a little complicated at first, but it's pretty simple. So every computer has a memory, right? Like a RAM or stuff. And in that memory, when you create a variable, you've stored a piece of data in the memory. And that that part of the memory is called whatever the name of the variable is. So whenever you use that name of the variable in your code, it refers to that piece of data in the computer's memory. So how do you create it? In Python, it's super simple. Other things you have to specify its type and is it public or not. Python is super simple. You write your name. I'll just say txt equals any data you want of the data types we chose or we just learned. So I'm just gonna do a string hello world. And fun fact, if you didn't know, printing out hello world onto the console is one of the most iconic things a programmer can do. It's super cool. It's the first thing anyone learns. So it's just a fun fact. Now we can do print txt because the name of the variable is txt. So in the computer's memory, there's a part of it called txt, and inside there is the value hello world. So whenever I say txt, it's talking about this piece of data, hello world. So if I print txt, save this file, run it, it'll say hello world. Or terminal. So say I wanted to print txt multiple times. Now say if I had just put in hello world in each of these, so say I didn't use txt, I just used hello world in each of these, or let's just copy this, I'm way too lazy. V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, right, yeah, you get the point. This is so many things, and say I just wanted to change them. Say I need to print something 2, 4, 6, 7 times, and then I realize, oh no, it's actually hello word. Now I have to change each of these. Every time I said hello world, I have to change it to hello word. Imagine how tedious that would be if you had 100 lines of code, maybe even 1,000. So that's where variables come in. Say, let's just delete all of this. Say we do print txt, and we can copy paste this. Control V. Oh, dang it. I did. Okay, so this is like way more times than it was. Say I wanted to change it from hello world to hello word. Or let's just keep it like world for now. Save this and like run it. See what happens. Just prints out a bunch of hello worlds. Hooray. So now, let's say, oh no, it was supposed to be hello word. So now if I just change it in the variable, so if I say, okay, now the part of the memory that's called txt is now hello world. It stores the data hello word, not world. If I save this, go into the terminal and run it, now it says hello word, word. And see how simple it is to change like all of these by just changing it once in the variable? And that's why variables are super important. Now it's your turn to code. I want you to use your brain and think, how do you use what you've learned from variables to switch the value from one variable to another? So, you have a variable a, and it equals 10. You have a variable b, which equals 12. How do you switch the values of a and b without manually changing a to 12 and b to 10? That is the trick. You need to learn how to do that. And I'm not just going to teach you. You need to figure it out. And that's what programming is all about. If you can't figure it out, well, you can just come to the next video and I'll show you the solution. If you can't, but you just have to try. Sometimes it might take a little while, but eventually it will click. I know that from experience. So, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Samurai out.